Welcome to the Value Builder Podcast, where we focus on real estate with a value-add mindset. Real strategies, real operators, real outcomes. Let's dive in.
All right. Welcome, Value Builder community. Today I'm talking with Logan Freeman, managing broker at MWCRE Advisors, and he's also known as Mr. Kansas City in commercial real estate world. Logan's story is pretty wild. He was undrafted free agent with Oakland Riders, got cut and went to corporate world and got fired, and then he went all in commercial real estate, and he's doing amazing right now. He's selling millions of commercial real estate. He has done over 450 million in deals across Kansas City. We're going to talk about that amazing story, NFL, commercial real estate. We're going to touch on small bay industrial, as I'm passionate about, and of course I would like to know about from Kansas City, Mr. Kansas City, about that city's forecast, what he's feeling, how that city is going to do next year and in the near future. So welcome, Logan, to the show. And if you don't mind, let's dive in quickly into your story. And of course, I want to start from your NFL story and then transition to commercial real estate, so they can audience can get an idea, of your humble beginnings.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Saul, it's my pleasure to be here on the Value Builder podcast today. And I appreciate all the work that you are doing in the small bay industrial sector of commercial real estate. My background is I'm a small farm boy from Jefferson City, Missouri. And Jefferson City, Missouri, there's a big map behind me here, but is the capital of Missouri. And, I oftentimes, relate Jefferson City as sort of the fixed mindset. Nothing wrong with that. It was a great place to grow up. Good people. Some of my best friends still from Jefferson City. But if you have the growth mindset and you want to grow and you want to do and think bigger, it is less easy to do in Jefferson City, Missouri than maybe a major metropolitan statistical area like Kansas City. My whole life, I grew up working for $1, right? And I watched my mother work 2 jobs to be able to put us through private Catholic schools. And it really showed me the value of your work and how much money that you make, but that also there's a different way. And there's a different way to use leverage to be able to, and leverage in 3 or 4 different ways, not just financing leverage, to actually maximize your efficiency. And so I have had this obsession with inputs and outputs my whole life, right? And it started with athletics. So the harder I worked, the more free throws that I did, the more weights that I lifted, the better I got playing my sport. And for me, being an achievement-based type of person, it was very important for me to be able to see those results in a pretty fast manner, right? So you do something and then you see results, right? That was very motivational and inspiring to me growing up. So when I was 14 years old, I did just that. I was a big kid and I was looking to make some money. Well, not a lot of people hiring 14-year-old boys, right?
Yeah.
Young men. But I had, it's the farm country of the Midwest. And so I was baling hay in the hot Missouri summers, picking up hay bales and putting them on a trailer and stacking them and going and unloading them in a barn. When I turned 15, I actually did get a W-2 job, and I had to have my school write a letter to say, hey, this guy's grades are good enough where he can go to school. And it was washing dishes and cleaning floors at a catering business. And I worked my way up and was trained under a classically trained Le Cordon Bleu chef. And I actually went to school for a hotel and restaurant management before getting my master's degree. But my whole life, I really identified as that athlete. And when I got to college, I had a couple opportunities to go Division I. I needed a scholarship, and they wanted to be a preferred walk-on scenario. I came from a small school, and so I went to Division II school, and I was able to play my freshman year. Typically, they redshirt freshmen, which just means you practice and you work out, but you don't play. And I got my red shirt pulled, and I actually played in some games as a true freshman. I broke an ankle and partially tore an MCL, so I got a medical red shirt, and I was able to come back for that 5th year. Well, I remember the day that the Carolina Panthers scout was at our school, and I was like, oh, they must be here to see the wide receivers or the quarterback or the running back. And my coach pulled me aside and he said, hey, they're in the film room waiting for you. And I was like, okay, well, that's pretty interesting. And they said one thing that really kind of, changed the trajectory of my football career, which was, hey, you're 6'3" you're a great athlete, you have good work ethic and drive, but you're not going to play left tackle in the NFL. So you need to move in and play center. And so
Mm.
I transitioned for 2 seasons and played center, was picked up as an undrafted free agent with the Oakland Raiders, was able to beat out a few guys that they drafted, but ultimately got moved to guard, had never played guard in my life, and I was sent home. 49ers called, and they said, "Hey, we want to fly you out to camp. Our center just tore his ACL." And I said, "No, thanks. I'm going back to school, and I'm finished
Mm.
my master's degree." So in 6 months, I went from 335 pounds to 219 pounds. And I remember during summer school taking a class, walking past some of my friends that I have known for 5 years, and they didn't recognize me. I
Wow.
mean, but here's the bigger change, Saul, that happened. I
Hmm.
needed to get a job because I had no business experience. I also needed to pay for school and my roach-infested apartment that I had to pay for because I didn't have a scholarship anymore. So I got a job making 265 cold calls per day. But the big change happened in my car. I turned my car to the classroom on wheels, and this was before podcasts. So if
Hmm.
you're listening to this, this is, and I'm dating myself a bit, but I am 36 years old in March of next year. So this would be, 9, 10, 12 years ago, I guess, 2013 and 14 when podcasts were really just kind of getting going. So I actually had CDs and I was listening to Zig Ziglar and Jim
Hmm.
Rohn and
Hmm.
Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy, right? And the bigger shift happened in my mental capacity. I was
Hmm.
taking all of these classes about statistical regression analysis and about chart of accounts. And I'm like, what is this? This is not business. I took one class and they had me read The Purple Cow and by Seth Godin
Yep.
and Charles Duhigg, The Power of Habit. And I said, this is business. And
Hmm.
so I wanted to get into sales and marketing. And so I finished up my master's degree in about undergrad and master's in about 5 years, went out into the workforce, had a job with Jimmy John's as their youngest franchise consultant they ever hired. Just means I had like 25, 30 stores across 3 different states that I managed and made sure the brand stayed consistent. A year into that, I go, "Hey, I'm top 5 in the country. What's my next move?" And they said, "Dude, you're the youngest guy in the company right now. You got to put your time in." On the call, I gave him my 2 weeks. Did not have a plan.
There you go.
Went right back into the startup community, making 265 calls a day, helped grow that company. 2.5 years later, took a job, 6-figure sales job at a bigger company. Private equity comes in 15 months after I joined. They lay off the whole sales team. And I had read about 750 books at the time. And my wife, we didn't have any children at the time. She said, "Hey, I support you 100%." And so I went and started a sales consulting company. So I grabbed Inc.'s fastest 5,000 growing companies. I cold called the first 2,500 and I landed 3 clients. Doing what, you might ask? Well, I'd make cold calls for them.
Locals.
I'd set up CRM systems. I would fly to Orlando, Florida, pitch their products at conferences, whatever they needed. But at the same time, a buddy that I had been working on some single family home flips with in Kansas City said, "I just landed a $50 million fund and my head of acquisitions left." And so I actually started doing real estate brokerage, buying 12 houses a month for this fund, cash, and we were holding them for rentals. And we were the 6th group in the country to go through a Corvest portfolio refinance across 265 homes.
I
So
remember
yes,
these
my
guys.
first year I did like 150 transactions. I took that same knowledge and applied it to commercial real estate and multifamily, which has now kind of catapulted me to where I am now, running a real estate brokerage and development firm. We have owned, invested, and managed over 1,500 units across 4 states and 600,000 square feet of commercial space spanning office, retail, and industrial. And we are now working on building around 250,000 square feet of small bay in Kansas City. So that is the abridged short version in there of my journey.
That's amazing. There's so many nuggets there, but I still want to go back to that moment because I know quite a few athletes somehow in my life. I'm around a lot of athletes, and many of them don't come back when they get caught, and some of them just catapult right back. But I'm just thinking, what was that transition for you? So when you went NFL route and the camps, and did you had already in your head that probably, yeah, I'll be that one that's gonna move my career, and that's it, or you always you always had like a backup plan that maybe is only temporary. And when you got cut, I'm just curious how you really came back, that strong right away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a huge identity shift,
Hmm.
right? And I could have kept I had to weigh my options. I could have kept chasing the dream, but I knew physically that I was eating 10,000 calories a day just to keep the weight on. My
Hmm.
frame was not set up to be 335 pounds. And when I saw the guys that I was playing against who were naturally moving at, 4.9 speeds and things like that, had played all SEC football, and I said, I think the track for me to even just get on a practice squad is gonna be a real grind. And I've got scars on my shoulders, my fingers all do that. I've broken an ankle, torn an MCL, but my brain was still smart, and I just felt God had a different calling on my life, right? And so I had used my body up to that point to make a living, and,
Hmm.
I just felt like my brain was time to utilize that and exercise that muscle instead. But going through that transition, I really had to dive back into my faith, but also I had some mentors that were telling me to read those books and listen to those tapes. And I call it like this, man. I mean, John Wooden says, you're never going to outperform your inner circle. And so I made my inner circle the mentors that I wanted to be and wanted to listen to. And so I just poured myself into personal development at that point.
That's amazing. That's awesome. All right, let's dive in right now in real estate. You manage so many square feet. You guys, I'm assuming you're leasing those properties as well, besides management, right?
Correct.
Okay. So can you give me fundamentals to why do you think you're doing better? Is that still tenacity of old school making more phone calls and just volume based, or is there anything else that you have some competitive advantage compared to other folks, technology, CRMs, whatever. But what would be maybe there's something else. I'm just curious. Because leasing, leasing in my business, I think it's very underrated, but actually it's probably one of the most probably most important thing in commercial real estate. It's not
Yeah.
only finding
Yeah.
deals, but you need to keep those properties full in order to perform.
I think that first and foremost, the tailwind that we've got is the fundamentals of Kansas City. I mean, a lot of people were chasing overpriced coastal markets, and Kansas City has been delivering what actually matters, which is
Hmm.
fundamentals, that pencil and growth that you can kind of bank on. So
Hmm.
I'll give you some stories and numbers that really don't lie. I mean, for the last 10 years, we've been adding around 25,000 people a year, right?
Hmm.
We got 5.3% unemployment growth versus, our unemployment versus 6% nationally, right? Which means that we just have quality jobs driving real demand. Our multifamily market just posted 4% rent growth, the second highest nationally, with 95% occupancy. So that's not really speculation, that's performance. But, what separates, I think, Kansas City from every other emerging market story you'll hear is we've got Fortune 500 validation happening right now. Pfizer just committed $175 million for 425,000 square feet of office and
Wow.
2,000 jobs. That's the largest office recruitment in our region's history. Right. So meanwhile, everyone's writing, office obituaries. We're posting 432,000 square feet of positive net absorption in the first half of 2025. But that's really just the beginning. I mean, Panasonic's has built a $4 billion EV battery plant in DeSoto, Kansas, creating 8,000 jobs, right? Google and Meta are dropping billions on data centers. I mean, these aren't just local plays. These are global companies making billion-dollar bets on Kansas City's future. And I mean, the other part that I'd say is really compelling is the infrastructure story. I mean, we've got $6.3 billion, just 8 major developments happening right now. And those aren't just planned or proposed, those are under construction, right? We just finished up a $351 million streetcar extension that opened. We've got Samara Road from New York City doing a $527 million project in the West Bottoms, right? We've got $334 million in downtown public space investments. And, here's where it gets interesting for investors. I mean, our cap rates still make sense. Multifamily in the 5 to 6% range, delivering that 4% rent growth that I mentioned. Industrials around 7% caps with 7.5 million square feet of absorption. You've got office at 8.4%, but we're proving with demand with deals like Pfizer. I mean, these are the kind of those fundamentals that set us apart from coastal markets. So we've got some good tailwinds, right,
Hmm.
in regards to what's happening in Kansas City. And I always tell people, if you haven't read Sam Zell's book, Am I Being Too Subtle? Real estate's really pretty simple. Go find go find the imbalance between supply and demand. and then serve that intersection, man. I mean, that's where it's at. When you are trying to compete in a blue ocean where everybody else is and everybody's doing the same thing, that's when it gets really hard. And so there really isn't any competitive advantage per se. It is more about location, the asset quality, and then executing on a good fundamental plan, right? But this year has been an absolute transformation in regards to how we are utilizing artificial intelligence. So I'll give you one use case. For our multifamily properties, for example, I saw a big gap where a lead would come in and our team would actually respond to that lead. So I went and implemented a chat bot that these groups could actually call and talk to. It was trained on our property management software. It knew everything about the property, pet fees and the utilities and everything. And you could email, you could text, or you can call with somebody 24/7. We were able to increase our occupancy alone on that multifamily portfolio 10% in about 6 months just by implementing that one.
So that's text, email, and voice, the same bot, right?
That's exactly right.
And how do people perceive when they get on a call? Do they get offended that it's a bot, or it goes right away? This is Alex AI, so they can disclose. How do you go about it? Every week, I read hundreds of commercial real estate articles from across the US and around the world. I connect the signals, break down the Fed moves, and share real case studies, not theory, from my 2 decades of real estate experience and actively doing deals right now. My team and I spend 15 plus hours on a weekly basis and deliver this to you for free. You can read it in 5 minutes. So every Sunday at 9:07 a.m., you'll get major commercial real estate news that matters, one Fed insights that matters, one deep dive case study from me or one of our operators who already made the mistakes, so you don't have to. Thousands of commercial real estate operators and investors read this newsletter, especially in the value add space. And don't take my word for it. Check out hundreds of reader testimonials online. Plus, when you subscribe, you get instant access to a Performer underwriting tool, the same one we use every single day to underwrite value add deals. Now, this is not for you if you're looking to get rich quick schemes, or if you're looking for theory and hallucinations, not real numbers, or you're not serious about commercial real estate. But if you want real tactics, real deals, real results, no bait and switch, go to joinvaluebuilder.com and subscribe for free. And see you there, guys.
Yeah, I don't really care if they get offended or not, because the problem was actually my team was too busy spending time with tire kickers. And so if you were not a tire kicker, you got through that bot and you talked to somebody, right? So it qualified the prospects faster for our team to go execute on the real people that wanted to move in. Similar to that, we're doing the same thing on commercial real estate. So for small bay industrial contractor garages, you drive by a property, there's a QR code. The QR code drives you to a intake form on a website specifically curated for that property. You put your information down. Automation has you do a background check and a credit check, right? And then if you qualify from that, that lead is now getting delivered to our leasing brokers to be able to contact them. So we're qualifying those people.
So the gate, even before they talk, they have to enter their name, email, and what else they have to enter before
Yeah,
they
we're
talk?
working on background checks and credit checks as well, and it's all automated.
Before they talk to the agent.
That's right.
So you pull like a soft credit, soft background check?
That's exactly right.
Never knew that. Wow, that's interesting strategy. First time I heard it.
And the reason we can do that is because there's such a high demand for that product type, right? If there was so much on the market, you wouldn't be able to do that. But people are competing for these spaces. 1,000 to 3,000 square foot of flex contractor garages. We've got sub 2%, vacancy on these deals. So we don't have time to sit there and qualify 500 inquiries that people are just interested in storing a car there. No,
Yeah.
if you're a business, you're an HVAC guy or gal, you've got a cleaning business, you've got needs for a space, you can go fill out these forms and take those steps to allow us to qualify you before we do any type of tour. The other thing that we'll do is really great video tours, walkthroughs with Matterport cameras and technology, so they can actually feel like they've been at the space before they actually go tour it as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. But distinction of what I'm trying to get an additional tools, but really Kansas City has a great demand, and that's why you're implementing the strategies. I'm comparing let's say other markets we are. We had similar situation, I think, like in Fort Myers market in Florida,
Yeah.
where we're pretty much getting open houses and we're getting, 5 tours a week and we stack them. We can achieve the same thing in some other markets like Milwaukee or
Mhm.
Ohio market where there's less demand. So yeah, actually the strategy shifts really depending on what the market you are.
And then we are utilizing digital marketing and videography in a certain way that allows to spotlight these properties in a way that people can feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a part of something bigger, and
Hmm.
they see the bigger vision, right? And so we have to have the back end efficiency systems, but we also have to have the ability to create the market on the front end, right? So we use geofencing, we use 1, 3, and 5 mile radiuses,
Hmm.
we're sending mailers, we're sending text messages, we're making phone calls, we're doing email campaigns, letting everybody know there's new space available, right? For example, we are working on some luxury car condo projects, and
Hmm.
we will target households above $750,000, likely have cars in the garage, and they want to be a part of kind of a club where they can go hang out with their buddies who all have, $300,000 vehicles, right? And
Hmm.
so just depending on the product and the project, we will specifically tailor a marketing strategy towards that.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, those projects right now, so you are the principal and the owner on those projects.
Mix of both. We will also work with landowners and developers on their pre-leasing, pre-construction, and design side of the business. And then once they start breaking ground, we start the pre-leasing strategy.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah. And the reason I'm asking is just because to execute or to pay to have resources for this type of thing, it's typically a little bit typically more expensive than traditional leasing expense. How do you pay for it? So if it's my property, it's no brainer for me, right? So, but if there are partners involved, um, sometimes it's not an easy conversation.
Yeah. Well, think about it like this. Working
Yeah,
on a 90,000 square foot, $20 million project. And I said, hey, you got to bring me on so that I can go get you 5 to 10 leases so that you can go to your equity and you can say,
exactly.
hey, we're already a percentage of this pre-leased. You can go to your bank and you can say, hey, we're already got this amount of throughput on inquiries coming through, right? So it helps the financing side of the business as well. Also, for me, this is not a one-off project, right? I'm looking to build the most robust system for pre-leasing and leasing small bay in Kansas City. So if that's the case, then I'm spending marketing dollars. A project that we've got that they might have inquired about may not fit, right? But if I've got 3 to 4 other projects, I'm monetizing that lead in a different projects. It's no longer, hey, I got marketing spend for just one deal, right? They come into MWCREAdvisors.com, they see all of the projects, right? And we work with them to say, hey, this space might not work for you, but this one will, right? Depending on their timing and what their needs are. So I'm trying to create that whole robust system, an ecosystem where people can get monetized across different projects.
Makes sense. Now, do you mind sharing, getting tactical? Let's say your top three marketing lead sources for small bay. I can speak, let's say, for Illinois or Ohio or Milwaukee. I think I would rank paid ads on Facebook Marketplace number one. Number two, it just same old police sign, no branding, just massive police sign. And then I think would go LoopNet, then probably Craigslist, then direct mail. Do you mind sharing what are your top three in Kansas City?
Yeah, those are very similar to what we've got here. I think it's the execution side that matters, right? We
Mm-hmm.
we don't have any problem getting visibility on the
Mm-hmm.
properties. It's about qualifying the true prospects once they have raised their hand,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so then it becomes, yes, I mean, the mailers are important. We actually get a decent amount of leads through LinkedIn, right?
Mm.
We get a decent amount of leads through SEO and blogs that we're putting out about this space. One LinkedIn post has generated 3 to 5 tenants for one specific project, right? And so it's that videography about the property, and then it's getting that out there on LinkedIn and social media posts. It's spotlighting it on the podcast. Actually, we
Mm-hmm.
actually spotlight the actual projects on podcasts, which then goes
That's
to
interesting.
YouTube as well. So we'll have the developer on talking about the project, talking it through the site plans, what the rents
Hmm.
are going to be, what the amenity stack is. And then all of that is now marketing collateral for us. Once they go to that landing page, all of it is there for them to review. And
Hmm.
so the lead may say, "Hey, I'm interested," and they go to a landing page that just they fall off. But if you've got a video, you've got a blog, you've got site plans, and a specific curated website per property, we have seen much better click through rates and follow through rates in being able to contact those leads through that because they feel like they are more invested in that project.
That's awesome. Actually, just gave me an idea.
Mhm.
I will, and I should, and I will get our partners and asset managers of the properties, and we talk about the property and spotlight and just repurpose that podcast on some social media channels in those markets. Again, we are out in different markets, a little different, but I'll piggyback on that strategy, try it out. No, that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually got a full presentation, Saul, just remind me, and I'll send it to you, and it walks through all of those different mediums that we go through.
Oh,
The other
that
thing that we'll
I'll.
find very valuable is trade associations, local chamber of commerce meetings, and being active in the community.
Oh man, yeah, I want to spotlight here, and I think when a podcast will come out, that'll be public. Finally, sign a deal with Chamber of Commerce, and they're moving into one of our facilities.
Amazing.
Entire Chamber of Commerce moving in our campus. We're about 200,000 square feet and 29 acres, and that's a big conversion to a small bay industrial type slash flex office warehouse, and I'm moving them there. So we know that I have such a big pool of tenants in the next 10
Absolutely.
years from them.
That's huge, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let's spend a few minutes. I know you mentioned about Kansas City, and if you don't mind, let's go a little bit more tactical on Kansas City. And I think with intent that people who are listening, um, maybe they can reach out to you and just zoom in Kansas City, listening at those numbers because real estate is
Mm.
such a local thing, right? So, small bay industrial. I think overheard that is about 2% vacancy.
Yes.
Can you talk about vacancy, small bay industrial, and just a little bit more numbers? So what maybe the lease rates, what are the build costs right now there, so everyone can reference. And I'm pretty sure we're gonna get some inquiries
Yeah.
to follow up on that.
Absolutely. Well, our full industrial sector has about 13.2 million square feet under construction. That's leading the Midwest. Now, remember, we have Van Trust, we have Hunt Midwest, we have North Point, all major industrial developers based out of Kansas City. So this is not necessarily small bay specific, but on all of this industrial, we have 4.6% of existing inventory under development. There's 10.3 million square feet in the total pipeline, but 76% of that is build to suit. And we've
Hmm.
had net absorption of around 7.5 million square feet in Q1 of 2025. Across all asset classes inside of industrial, we're sitting at a 4.6% vacancy rate. And on the large scale, we're at $6 per square foot on the asking rents. Now, when we go down to small bay, right, the efficient build, small, the contractor garages, that's anywhere from $12 to $15 full service gross, right? So gross leases. And then we have seen
Do they pay utilities or landlord pays utilities?
just a mix of that. So typically in those efficient builds, they don't have access to bathrooms or even water, on site, right? And so that just there is water there, but they're not supposed to be there, filling up big tanks on their trucks and going out and spraying
So
for
in the sense,
plants.
those are self storage facilities without it just only heating. There's no bathrooms.
That's exactly right. Yes. Now we go up to our true flex. Now we're talking anywhere between 15 to 18 bucks triple net. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in regards to the build costs, I mean, land costs in Kansas City can be 50 cents per square foot all the way up to $3 per square foot. And then we're seeing kind of all in build costs anywhere from 80 to about 150, depending on the type of building that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it lands somewhere around 125, $135 per square foot.
But based on those numbers, so you mentioned 15 to 18 to triple net, that definitely pencils out.
It absolutely does, and that's why we have started to see many developers trying to focus on the smaller bay industrial side. So I think that next year there likely will be somewhere between 700,000 and 1 million square feet of this under development.
Wow. And absorption still gonna hold, right? Yeah, amazing. Yeah. So let's say, I'm just gonna piggyback on that on Chicago. That's probably looking at maybe $12 triple net. It's a small bay, maybe a little bit more, but build cost, it's over $100. It's very hard to build here metal. Most of it is going to be tilted concrete. So it's really challenging to pencil out. So compared to, and plus we have 9% vacancy rate right now. That's another drag to lag, So, wow. Great hearing, and yeah, that's different perspectives, different absorptions, obviously.
Absolutely.
So with that, where people can find you if you want to talk real estate, if they want to invest, if they want to buy or talk development, where can I find you?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Saul. I'm on LinkedIn every single day. So that's Logan Freeman, Mr. Kansas City. You'll be able to find me. My website is MWCRE Advisors.com, and you can reach out to us there as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Logan. This was an amazing show, and I'm looking forward to get on at some point again.
Thank you so much for having me, Saul.
You've been listening to the Value Builder podcast. For more strategies, stories, and episodes, head to valuebuilder.co or subscribe on your favorite app. Always make it better than you found it and keep adding value. See you in the next one.